All right, what is up, guys? Welcome to the pilot episode of what we're calling Social Skirmish, where we are going to be covering some Halo 4 news and Halo in general. And with us today, we have some maybe not notable to some of you. Some of you, these people may be new, but to us, they're familiar faces. We have Curse Lemon and Best Man. So if you guys want to do a brief intro, just sort of your background, maybe in Halo, who you are, what you do, we'll start with Lemon. You can go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm Curse Lemon. My real name is Vince Pereno. I live in Michigan. I've been part of the Michigan Halo scene for since about mid 2005, and I'm sure most people know me by my violent rants about Halo on the MLG forum. I believe that's what I'm famous for. Um, but yeah, other than that, just been trucking along with the MLG scene for as long as it's been around. Don't plan on going anywhere, even given the current state of Halo. But yeah.
All right, sounds good. So basically, for you guys watching, if you hate the news you heard about Halo 4, this is your guy. And Best Man, do you want to give us a little intro?
Yes, I am Best Man, professional Halo player. Most notably on the Halo Council, which is also on this channel. But I've been playing Halo for 6, 7 years, posting on the forums. I should have over like 10,000 posts. So most of you guys should know me if you're from around there. So excited to be a part of this show.
Nice. Yeah, and we're glad to have your opinion. We're going to be kind of talking more casually about Halo, but as always, it's good to have the veteran opinion. And myself, I'm Euphorix. My background isn't totally in Halo. I've competed in Smash Brothers with MLG, competed in Shadowrun, the FPS. So I sort of try to make my views optimistic towards this news about Halo, but also bring in backgrounds from other games and things like that. And so, with that being said, we are going to get started with sort of a general topic. And what I want to talk about right now is a thread I actually started on halocouncil.com. If you guys aren't on those forums, go ahead, sign up there, check it out. It's an amazing site. But I posted a thread on what I thought core Halo was to me. So before I start, I don't want to, bias anyone's opinion or that. So we'll start with Best Man, and we'll get what you think core Halo, what basically makes Halo to you.
What makes Halo to me is where I can jump on and have fun in any single playlist possible, and that's pretty much where the show is going, I believe. Back when I started playing, my first game of Halo was Big Team Battle, Waterworks, Big Team Battle 8v8 or something like that, and from then on, I was hooked. So when I think of core Halo, I think of default playlists being amazing and addicting, and just that the overall fun level is what brought me having fun is what made me want to be competitive in Halo. So that's what I believe core Halo is in a nutshell, if
Very
that makes
nice.
sense.
Yeah, definitely. I get it. So you're saying that the default settings, being able to sit down and play Halo, regardless of the game type and it being like addictive, is Halo to you.
Yep.
So, Vince, Curse Lemon, how would you define Halo?
Well, because I've spent so much time, debating about the Halo series, the thing that stands out to me as the defining factor of Halo when you compare it to other FPS games is the pacing. And I think this is something that you went into about Halo being a medium pace FPS. It's a run and gun game, but at the same time, it's also kind of slower and a lot more based around teamwork and just a lot of other like very identifiable mechanics about the game that make it what it is. I feel like Halo is one of the most unique shooters out there. It just has its own identity, and it's something that is actually very dear to me because it's what made me one of the things that made me fall in love with the series in the first place, and it's something that I've wanted to kind of see rectified over the years. As I've kind of lost my taste for the way Halo has gone. But even through all the installments of the Halo series, there is that same pacing, and it's the thing that makes it very obvious when you're looking at someone playing Halo. You're like, oh, that's a Halo game. So that's what I think about that.
Very nice. Now, I'm going to highlight a few people on the forums. I like their opinion. They had some interesting things to say. Misery from the forums, shout outs to you. His sort of staples of Halo, he says rechargeable health and situational weapons. And he goes on to say that it rewards players for controlling choke points, power ups, power weapons, and consistent aim. And I totally agree about that. I don't see in a game, a lot of other first-person shooter games, you don't really see the focus on controlling positions of the map as well as sort of power weapons. So shout outs to you. Good points there. And then another person who sort of agreed with him on the forums was Yosef. He says Halo to him is battling for map control, fair gameplay where every player starts with an effective utility weapon, equal opportunity to secure map control, and the ability to choose your role in the game throughout the match and change that dynamic as you play. And I want to touch on that last part because that's something we saw in Halo 2 a lot. And then in Halo 3 and Reach, the idea of a Slayer role, a support role, and those types of roles sort of died down and everyone sort of started to do everything. So with the announcement about Halo 4 and their sort of perks and that sort of thing and trying to help people play or define their own individual play style, what do you guys think it was about Halo 1 and Halo 2 that made people fall into these roles more than Halo 3 and Halo Reach? And if you guys don't have anything, I can sort of jump in while you guys think.
You want to take that one, best man?
Well, I think, to be honest, I think it's just more so of just the basics of it. I think once we had Halo 3 come out, I think with Forge, there was too much you could do to the game. And I don't know if I'm getting off track from what they said, but this is something I always believed is like when you change around spawns and weapons and stuff like that, you sort of take the roles out of the just if I just wanted to jump on Halo and play, you have the different settings from just because of Forge. There's so many weapons and so much stuff you can change on the map. Whereas in Halo 1, Halo 2, you didn't have to really change anything. You could jump on and play right away. So I'm not too sure if that's too off track for what you say. If you want to maybe correct anything I had to say there.
No, I definitely agree there. I think sort of the way that we've altered the game, and this is really, I mean, it's a great thing what Bungie and then 343 will do with the game as far as customizable settings, because then you can get, fun game types like all the things found in Action Sack, things like Griffball, that sort of thing. But then when you look at the playlist situation in Halo Reach, I honestly don't even know how many playlists there are. I know it's a huge number, but that ends up sort of spreading the community kind of thin, and you don't have the same amount of people sort of familiarizing themselves with certain game types. So I think in Halo 2, with a more simplified playlist, people could play not the same game types more often, but play with a certain style more often, as opposed to all these huge variances and things like that. So I think in a sense in Halo 1 and Halo 2, and to an extent Halo 3, people were actually more familiar with the mechanics of the game, and that allowed them to adapt their play styles accordingly. And I don't know if, Vince, you would agree that sort of the skill gap in itself in Halo 1 and 2 sort of lended itself to defining a role, or if you had something, different to say about that.
Well, I've always thought, like back in I think it was 2008, I made a thread on the MLG forum actually talking about roles, roles in competitive Halo, and how I thought that the concept of roles was actually kind of overblown, because at the time, I feel this was something that was definitely more prevalent in the past. It was people like to talk about people who are main slayers, people who were support slayers, people who were like objective players like flag runners and stuff like that. And I thought that was kind of silly, because I always felt like Halo teams were very fluid in the way that they would transition from role to role in any situation in the game. I feel like there's a lot of things about Halo 1 and Halo 2 that might lend towards that sort of thing. Halo 1, but above and beyond any other Halo game, is about controlling power weapons. Because not only are they the things that you're supposed to get your kills with, they're also easy to lose. And people who were, if you were using the sniper in Halo 1 was not easy. So if you were really good with the sniper, that is something that your team is going to sit there and say, okay, we should approach like such and such room that has the sniper in it in a way that's conducive to this teammate getting the sniper rifle or something like that. In Halo 2, on the contrary, sniping was actually kind of easy. But at the same time, you wanted someone who could take that sniper rifle and run away with it, because you could do that in Halo 2. There was still a little bit of the ability for one player to make a really big impact on the game. And in Halo 3 and Halo Reach, that capacity to do that is diminished a lot, and it's kind of the reason that I would say that you would observe something like the diminished like distinction between teammate roles and stuff like that.
Definitely, I agree completely on that sense that because you excel at a certain part of a game, it almost forces the other team to adapt around it, and it allows you to sort of plan for it. And I want to sort of tie this into Halo 4 because I'm trying to be optimistic about the game. Obviously, it's hard to do at times, especially when you hear things like perks, which are definitely associated with Call of Duty a lot. But my hope for Halo 4 is that with the addition of perks and armor abilities, if they're implemented in a smart way, that they can actually help make those distinctions, say like as a sniper or a flanker or things like that, not extremely imbalanced like something like armor lock that actually disrupts the flow of the game, but can actually help people strategize within the game. Much like you were talking about with, if you have a great sniper on your team, you sort of plan around it. If someone has a good setup as far as their perks and abilities go, maybe they use like active camo and sprint, and they have, I don't know what a perk would be. Maybe they can sprint, a 10% longer distance, something like that. And he's really good at staying alive. You have that player just constantly flanking in and disappearing to sort of, just cause a total disruption in the other team's setup. So I'm going to ask Nick what he thinks about, that philosophy as far as Halo 4 goes and using perks in that type of manner.
Well, that you described my exact playstyle right there. That's what I do. I am that distraction. I do get into that base. Even when I wasn't competing at a pro level, that's how I just started playing. I would just charge the other team and either get away with it or not get away with it because, I wasn't very good at the beginning. But to tie back of what, the core Halo, pretty much what Yosef and I don't remember the other guy's name.
Misery.
Yeah, Misery. What they said was pretty much what basic Halo is. So when you think about Halo 4 and what it could be great, and we don't know for sure if it's going to be terrible or great. We have speculation. Everyone wants to say it's going to be bad, but you could have this new like meta game of these perks, and Halo's never had that. Halo's always been battling for control, getting the weapons. Your playstyle is around the weapons, but in Halo 4 it could be completely different. It's like how you said with the perk system. So I'm all for it. I love basic Halo, and I love just the default the way to play Halo 1, Halo 2, and Halo 3 even. But I'm all for a change, and I'm definitely looking forward to that type of perk system.
And yeah, I totally agree. And I think Halo 4 sort of looked at what Halo Reach did right and looked what it did wrong. And in certain aspects, I think Halo Reach did get some things right. I think the movement speed when you go to Halo 3 to Reach, and just sort of the movement mechanics at a base level, even without the armor abilities, is much better. It feels much more solid. It feels like I have more control over my Spartan when he's running around. And same with the aiming. I don't know what it is about Halo 3 and just the aim in general, but whenever I was trying to aim with the right stick to like major adjust, it just felt like I could never hit my mark right on target. And I don't know if that was just me or the game or what. So I'm going to go through my list now that we sort of talked about what makes Halo to me. I have it that it's a medium-paced FPS, that you have a capable utility starting weapon. So in Halo 1, we had the pistol. In Halo 2, we had the BR. In Halo 3, we had the BR. In Halo Reach, we had the DMR. And then what you guys have mentioned, fighting over map control, power positions, power weapons, and then knowledgeable map movement. I think one of the biggest things we saw with Halo Reach was that moving around the map didn't have many disadvantages because most of the armor abilities could be used basically to escape death. So what I'm hoping Halo 4 does is that the perk, sprint, and whatever else just helps you move in more creative ways and not sort of cheat the system, if that makes any sense. Um, so let me ask you guys, like, if do you think in Halo 4, let me word it this way, that those core things would still be in there to make it a Halo game? And what do you think Reach did wrong to make it so different from Halo? And I don't know if Kirst wants to start with this, and then we can go over to Nick.
Well, the thing about it is that one of the things that definitely makes Halo what it is that everyone starts on an equal footing. Everyone starts with the same equipment. Everyone starts, on a symmetrical map. Everyone starts on the same spawns, just stuff like that. It was based around having things perfectly equal in the beginning, and then rewarding players as they outwitted the other team, which is, a very basic concept to FPS games. That's just how, map control works. But you started seeing in Halo Reach where, they invented a loadout system. So that already would tell you that they're trying to turn Halo into something a little different. Obviously, the loadout thing is more typical of squad-based shooters like Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six or whatever. But you started putting Halo in this weird middle ground where things weren't working correctly. You had Halo on one side in its basic form, what made it good, in the beginning, and then you have something like a squad shooter on the other side, and they were trying to. I mean, you can make the argument that Bungie with Halo Reach was trying to pull in Call of Duty fans. I don't really feel like entertaining that whole thing, but you have to decide what Halo is when you're designing a Halo game. You have to decide, are we going to do it like this or are we going to do it like this? Because really, you have to stick to one thing. You can't do this weird mingling thing, because then you get Halo Reach. I mean, there are a myriad of things that are wrong with Halo Reach, but that, I feel like, was one of the biggest things. So if you're going to make a Halo game, you have to decide, am I going to make this game more conducive to people wanting to specify in their role in the game? In which case, yeah, it is a good idea to have loadouts, pretty complicated loadouts that you can start with different weapons. You can start with even maybe different power weapons depending on how you want to approach the match. But if you're going to do that, you have to tailor the rest of the game to that sort of thing. Because if you play a game like Call of Duty or Rainbow Six or something like that, it's not a run and gun game so much. I mean, some people play it that way, but a lot of it is kind of sort of sit and wait, not quite camping, but aiming around corners and stuff like that. It's specified roles turn an FPS into that sort of game. So you have to sit there and say, is this what I want Halo to turn into? If it is, you have to commit completely to it, but then you're going to end up turning Halo into something completely different from what it was, which is something that I don't want to see happen, because I like Halo as it is, and I want to see it continue in that direction.
All right, so Nick, what do you think about sort of Halo Reach? And I'd like for you to touch on what the title update did and how that makes you feel about like the upcoming Halo 4. So the ways they tweaked Bloom, the way they gave us the option to take out Bloom, because personally I think that that's a great indicator of what we can expect with Halo 4, and sort of it going, if not in a perfect direction, at least in a better direction from Halo Reach.
All right, yeah. First off, I would like to say there are many things that were wrong with Reach, but I do believe what Curse Lemon said was true. They sort of just went into the middle. They didn't go fully blown with the way they did the loadouts. Like, it was sort of like, all right, some people can jetpack, some people can sprint, some people can have armor lock, but it was like there was no, I don't know how to word it, but it just didn't fully like execute the way they should have. So it was like a half-assed game, it seemed like. So I agree with everything you said right there, but with the title update for with no bloom, I think that was great. Obviously it made the game a hell of a lot better than it was the first year, and I'm not too sure about the other playlists because I know they I don't know if it's 85% for all of the
I think so, yeah.
for like Super Slayer and
Yeah, they
some of the
have it
other
set up.
playlists.
Yeah, where there's still the standard Slayer, which is like when Reach 1 was first released, and now there's Super Slayer, which is the title update, and then there's also title update Zero Bloom in addition to the MLG settings. So there's like 4 totally different playlists that are just sort of Team Slayer based.
Yeah, so I mean, I love the update. It gave us one of the best Halo MLG events I've ever been to. I've been to 35 events, and that was easily top 3 or top 2 events. So I love that they did that. And going into Halo 4, from what we've seen, with the sprint being the standard ability, you know, I'm not too sure. It's almost like you gotta wait for a next podcast, or you gotta trust them. It's gonna feel like Halo if you play it, and you can't read into things too much. But you know, I'm liking the direction they're taking. They have my trust somewhat, but you know, when you read and you just speculate, then all hope gets crushed. But I'm liking it sort of. I'm sort of on the other side of the fence with everyone else already jumping ship, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'd agree, and I'll sort of touch on this, and then we'll get some of your guys' opinions, and we'll go into a break in a little bit. But I think the Game Informer article came at like an extremely poor time, and it wasn't the article itself, I don't think, explained enough, because when they talked about the multiplayer aspects especially, they didn't mention that it was a free-for-all really explicitly. They just mentioned it was a new game type where there was like a bounty on the top player's head. So when they talked about things like pressing X to instantly respawn, the random, and I'll put that in quotes because during the next segment we'll talk about what they actually meant by that, the random weapon spawns were actually just a feature in that free-for-all, that the random weapon spawns aren't widespread and things like that. When I think all of the diehard sort of Halo fans who were hoping that Halo 4 would go back to the things they loved about the simplicity of the other games, when you read that, it's sort of like a shock to your system, because you're hopeful, you see the title update, you think it's going in a great direction, and then you sort of get fed these breadcrumbs of information that aren't really doing a great job explaining the game to you. So, I mean, did you guys experience that same thing? Like, I know I couldn't believe it when I heard that there'd be not only just armor abilities and loadouts, but there'd be like a perk as well, and that you'd be able to like choose your actual starting weapon. It was like, okay, you guys said you were bringing back Halo that we know, and then I hear this. So we'll start with Nick, and then Lemon, you can go about your just initial reactions to the news.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of is a shocker because I don't want to quote, but did they say that they were it's gonna be like Halo 2 or Halo 3?
They said
it was gonna
the
be
game will be like it still feels like Halo is, I think, the exact sort of almost wording that they used. So they always kept saying, "Oh, don't worry, it still feels like Halo. Like the Halo you know is still there."
But even before that, I thought that like even before all this information came out, they said it was going to be like I swear they said a specific name, so I wasn't too sure. A specific game, but anyways, I completely forgot the question.
Just like when you heard the news,
okay,
like, didn't you feel like?
Yeah, it's just like when the whole. I remember when Reach came out, and I can't speak for all the pros, but I can say that everyone was looking forward to it. So now it seems like nobody's looking forward to Halo 4. Now I'm not speaking for everybody, but you know that just seems like what the speculation is on Twitter and from what people I've talked to. So I mean, I don't know what to think when you say it's going to be like Halo. Then you hear all this different. It almost feels like you don't want to say anything. You don't want to say the banned word in the Halo community, which is Call of Duty. But when you say they seem like you put in this perk system, you put everything else, it just you're so confused on what it's going to be like. You hear one thing, and you see another. And you hear, and then you hear another thing they say, then you see another. So it's just I'm all over the place. But I'm trying to be positive here, and I don't know how else I could be.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I definitely feel you there on like you don't really know who to believe. So I believe in Chris Lemon. So what does he have to say on the subject?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that the entire Game Informer thing was a complete PR disaster, and I don't know if it's Game Informer's fault or if it's 343's fault, but it's somebody's fault that was handled so poorly. And we were given, half-truths. Everything in that article was a half-truth. And just something that was definitely not good for the community. Like as a whole, I don't think that anyone initially... my jaw dropped when I first saw that article. I literally couldn't even believe it. And I still can't believe it to some extent because there are some things, even through like Frankie's clarifications and all that, there are still some things that really don't sit well with me. And I'm still pretty skeptical. I mean, I'm always skeptical. I'm going to be skeptical until the end of time. But there are some things that he said, even that when he was trying to reassure us that, having default sprint, for example, I feel like that can't even be rationalized because I hate sprint. I don't want to see it in Halo for, reasons I can get into later on. But my initial reaction was pretty much, oh God, it's happening again.
Yeah. I agree with you there, and yeah, I actually made a post on halocouncil about the sort of half-truths we've been hearing, and how, like, at the very start, during the very first trailer when we saw Sprint, the first thing that, Frankie and all the other employees sort of said was, oh, no, don't worry, like, we know it's in the game, but this still feels like Halo. It's going to be the Halo the fans love. And then what happens? We get, Game Informer, and what do we see? We see not only is there Sprint, but now there's perks, and we get confirmed random weapon spawns, and then we hear the same thing, that it's, oh, don't worry, it's still Halo. And it seems like the more we hear, the less it sounds like Halo, but the more they keep saying it feels like Halo. So I don't know. Does anyone have any last comments before we go into a quick break?
Can you agree on me that what everyone was looking forward to reach towards the end of Halo 3 was that not like the overall mood? And then now it's like completely the exact opposite of everything. So that happened, at the exact same time of Halo 3. We were going into the last year and like, all right, got one more year. Reach information started coming out, and everyone's like, oh, Reach is going to be amazing. Just this is complete opposite now. So
yeah, I totally agree. So with that, I think, Nick, if you're ready to take a quick break, we'll take that. And when we come up next, we're going to be talking about the specifics in the Game Informer magazine, as well as some of the things and clarifications that Frank O'Connor and David Ellis have told us about the game. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll be right back. All right, what's up, guys? We're back, and we're going to be diving right into the Game Informer magazine in detail. Just to give you a brief outline, we're going to talk about sort of the multiplayer, where it takes place, touch on Spartanops a little bit, but more importantly, I want to talk about sort of the multiplayer loadouts, armor abilities, respawns, and hopefully we'll get into some sort of theory crafting. I'll be optimistic, and we'll see what the other guys feel about that, basically. But to jump off here, I'm going to read through some brief bullet points. And if you guys, this is sort of more fact based. I don't know if there's a lot of opinions to go with this. But the multiplayer takes place on a ship, which I find interesting. That's like the entire. So I guess up until this point, multiplayer has been on a ship and we just didn't know it, maybe. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But the red versus blue scenario, why that's going on, their explanation was that it's because it's the Spartan training facility called the Halo Infinity, which is like the largest Halo or the largest ship in like the UNSC fleet or something like that. That's the lore behind it. And this is sort of the interesting part, that in the startup screen for Halo 4, it's not going to have like campaign then multiplayer. It's going to have campaign, and then Halo Infinity is going to be the subtext there. So basically the multiplayer now encompasses the new mode Spartanops, which is, I mean, I don't want to compare it to Call of Duty, but it's going to be like Spec Ops in Call of Duty. I mean,
Hopefully better.
Yeah, hopefully. I think it'll be
think it
a
will be
lot
sick.
cooler. It'll have. So yeah, let me explain it before I just go ahead and go like bash it for copying Call of Duty. It's not exactly copying Call of Duty. So Spartanops will be a multiplayer experience, which will act like co-op, but it will be delivered via free DLC that comes with the purchase of the game in episodic content or releases. So like every week there'll be a new cinematic that you get to watch, and then there'll be new missions that you get to play along with it. So that part actually sounds pretty cool to me. The fact that sort of in this new DLC driven market, 343 is like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to release almost a campaign's worth of free DLC week by week for you guys to enjoy. So I think that's pretty cool. It sounds pretty fun. It sounds interesting. Do you guys like have anything to say good about it, or anything that you're skeptical about in regards to that?
You be man.
I'm pretty excited for that. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot better than the Call of Duty one because, well, with the you said it's like a weekly, like a cinematic, or like there's going to be new stuff every week that you're going to have a purpose to play it. Because the Call of Duty one is like you play it once and you're done, right?
Yeah,
Like, there's
so
not-
Call of Duty, like everything's there and you just play through it. But with this, it'll act almost like a TV show. Like you'll have a new thing to watch every week, and then some missions to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean that sounds amazing to me, to be honest. So can't bash it.
Yeah, I think there's some really cool stuff they could do with it. Anything you have on it, Curse Lemon?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, the Halo campaign has never been like the driving force for me, for playing Halo. I mean, you know, I've enjoyed playing the campaign. I think anybody who plays Halo enjoys running through the campaign a few times, but it's not really the reason that I play it. I mean, having said that, it sounds like what they're trying to do is you know, pretty novel and you know, a pretty good idea, and it's interesting to do it in, like you said, an episodic format where you can't just play through the whole thing as soon as you sit down and get the game. You have to wait a little bit, and it'll keep people interested. It'll keep people coming back, and the fact that it's, you know, a lot of people do play Halo for the story, and I've said, you know, in the heat of the moment, I've said otherwise before, but I understand that a lot of people do play Halo for the storyline, and I think that keeping people on the edge like that is definitely a good idea if you want people coming back to your game. So, you know, it's a good idea on their part. I think that's a really good thing.
Cool, definitely. So this I do want to touch on, because I made a speculation video when they first said that there was a reason that the red versus blue Spartans were fighting. And this is going to be totally nerdy to anyone who's here for like multiplayer, because this is one heck of a geeky idea. But when I first heard this, I was like, oh, this is gonna be sick. There's gonna be like a Spartan civil war. And here's how it like played out in my mind was like, say the Red Spartans were like teamed up with Master Chief, and they found like out that the Forerunner stuff was like could be used for good and evil, like one of those scenarios, you know, typical cliche stuff. And like a band of Spartans teamed up like with Master Chief to try and save this Forerunner stuff. But then there was some other like evil guy who the other Spartans went to like try and harness it for evil, like the typical good versus evil thing. But I think that's way more compelling than like a training simulation. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I thought training simulation was like the easy answer. Yeah. Mind blown.
Yeah.
Yes, and Proto in chat, these thoughts actually come from my beard. That's actually true. All speculation comes from the beard.
That's T squared
The
beard.
source of your power.
The T squared beard. All right, so next and probably the most heated sort of topics we're going to get into, the multiplayer loadouts. So I'll read through the bullet points again. The armor abilities will return, and you create your loadouts prior to entering a match. So instead of how it was in Reach, where you sort of load up a game type, and the armor loadouts are already set out for you, like your armor lock with like the DMR or needle rifle and that sort of thing. You pick them before you even go into multiplayer. And you can choose a primary and secondary weapon. You can choose starting grenades, and this is crazy to me. I thought they would never re-add this after Halo 3, but you can choose from 4 grenade types again. And then you choose your perks and your armor abilities. And what you choose will affect your Spartan's appearance overall. We'll start with Curse Lemon because I want to hear your thoughts not only on Sprint, but all this stuff in general. So we're taking the muzzle off, so go get it.
Take the muzzle off. Oh God, you don't know what you're doing. All right. No, but first of all, with the loadouts in Reach, having preset loadouts was stupid. It was just stupid. You were restricting people to like one, armor ability and one gun. That's not the point of a loadout. The point of a loadout is to have people, able to choose what they want. So if that's the way that it's going to be in Halo 4, then that's, and if you want to go the loadout route, then that is the way to do it. So, I guess that's good if you want loadouts. Sprint is a beast. I hate Sprint a lot. Sprint is incredibly detrimental to the game, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. And I'm going to kind of paraphrase a post that I made. I'm not sure if it was on the MLG forum or if it was on the halocouncil forum, but what I said was, Sprint, first of all, you can use Sprint to get away from a gun battle. That's the obvious problem first and foremost. You should not be able to run away from gun battles, at least not very easily. That's something that's been a problem since Halo 2, when it took 5,000 body shots to kill somebody, and you can just kind of strong side around the corner and get away scot-free and let your shields recharge, because there was also no visible health system.
It's awesome.
But the other thing that is bad about it is that it lets you get back into the battle faster off of spawn, depending on whether you're playing Slayer objective, a 5-second or 10-second respawns. It still matters, because the point of, it's especially going to matter in Slayer game types with the faster spawns. When you die and you spawn away from the action typically, or you should. There's been some problems with the Halo spawn system as of the past 2 games, but you should spawn away from the action, or you should spawn near your teammates. If you have Sprint and you have it, right from the get-go as your listed armor ability, then you can run right back into the action. You could potentially catch someone whose shields haven't even recharged yet from before you died. And that is ridiculous. The point of it cuts through one of the points of map design, which is, some amount of segregation. You should not be able to get from point A to point B this fast, because it ruins things when teams are trying to make transitions, get timed weapons and stuff like that. When they're cycling all over the map, you can't be able to interrupt them that way, because it's just going to make people afraid to move. team's going to get 4 down on their opponents, and they're going to be like, well, gosh, I wish we could go, set up to get this power weapon that's over here in this room on the map, but we can't because we know as soon as they spawn, they're going to, run right over there at the speed of light and, catch us off guard and flank us or something like that. And someone mentioned the idea of once you get if you're using sprint, you can only use it with full shields. Like if you get hit, you can't use it anymore. And I thought that was a good idea, but at that point it's like you've restricted sprint as an ability so much. Why even have it in the game? I think they should put something else. First of all, sprint shouldn't be a default ability, but even if you're going to talk about having it as a pickup, why not have something that I've wanted to see in Halo ever since we got a custom power-up option is a damage multiplier. I think that would be a fantastic idea, and something that would force people to push instead of being defensive, because Halo has been, plagued with a bunch of reasons to play really like turtle defense, except in moments where you have to push, like, in like flag games with the time running out or something like that, or, trying to maybe push for a weapon or something. The focus should be on things that encourage people to want to move around the map. And sprint is one of those things that just launches you right back into the action so fast that teams basically just can't even do anything.
Yeah, I agree. Nick, what do you think?
I don't know how I'm supposed to top that. I don't really remember the first the starting point, but I think sprint is killed Halo more than Bloom did. So I'm all. It just really annoys me that the pro players at the beginning of the 2010 or 2011 season all did not like sprint, and it was still put in anyways, and we had the option of not putting without sprint. And then when we talk about vanilla Halo, it's a whole different story, but I just want to give my take on the pro side real quick. I think sprint killed Halo more than Bloom did, just for the simple fact it changed the way Halo was played. And you covered it some points in there, but once they took away, I never played no sprint Halo like it was in the beginning, because I was playing at the end of Halo 3 still, so I never really had the luxury of playing it. So once I finally played a no sprint game, towards the end of the 2011 season, I felt completely free. I felt like I was able to do whatever. So when you have sprint as a default ability now, and now you're going to be able to sprint around with camo, like sprint around with a jetpack, it's just, obviously I wouldn't mind sprint if it's used to its right capability or right ability, or I don't know what that word would be. If it's used right, and I'm sure it's going to be completely different than reach sprint, I'm all for it. And I know I haven't seen anything about it yet, but I think sprint is what turned a lot of people away from Halo Reach in the beginning. A lot of it's old Halo fans, so I'm really on the fence about that. I hope it's used completely different than Reach Sprint, and I'll be happy, because I think I could like it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna try to. So I was thinking about, perks, and honestly, the scariest thing that they could put in the game, and I am like deathly afraid that this is gonna happen, because it's one of those things where you think about it and you're like, this could actually happen, and if it does happen, it could, like Halo is no longer really Halo at this point, and that's a stopping power perk, where it actually increases your damage, because Kirst, when you said a damage multiplier as a power-up, which I totally agree with, if you had to fight for it, absolutely. But if you're just given that, like you can be in previous Call of Duty titles, then I'm like, there's no more Halo sandbox at that point. So I just wanted to say that's the scariest thing I think that could happen. But as far as an argument for sprint, well, it's hard to make one in regards to the core style of Halo, where you want to try to plan out your routes and where you're positioning yourself as carefully as possible. And sprint really, in Reach at least, it allowed you to get away from that, either because either that doesn't work with Halo or because you were just allowed to do it for too long of a distance. I think there's a few ways they could do it right with Halo 4, and something tells me this might be the reason why. If everyone has sprint in Halo 4, it serves as a baseline for something that they can take away from the player in regards to the armor abilities and perks they use. So I'm going to hope that in Halo 4, sprint is a much, much shorter distance, that it's almost just a burst of speed that we saw like in the original Halo 3 trailer when people first started thinking that sprint was going to be in Halo, where he just sort of sprints like 10 feet and jumps off a cliff. If sprint is a shorter distance, I think it gives them the opportunity to allow people to customize their playstyle, but also do so with a penalty. So say you have an active camo armor ability. I think that maybe the reason they have sprint for everyone is so that they can say like, oh, you're equipping active camo. Well, now you can sprint for a shorter distance. Like they take away 20% of your total sprint time. And that's the only reason I can think of really giving everyone sprint in the game.
To clear up, for anybody in the chat, sprint will not be able, you won't be able to remove it, right?
I'm sure you can in custom games, but as far as default goes, everyone has sprint, and then you have a perk and an armor ability on top of that.
All right, just clearing up. So.
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons they might have sprint for everyone is so that they can take it away if you're using certain perks or armor abilities for sake of their ideas on balance. And I think sprint could become dynamic. Like say there's maybe like a slot 1 perk or armor trait, whatever they end up calling it, gives you like 20% more sprint distance. But then if you equip active camo, that takes away 20%. So now you're even. So you like sort of, at least there's some decisions to be made. At least there's a little bit of thought that has to go into it. Yeah, I know that would make sense. So, I mean, heaven forbid. Something like that happens. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on sprint. I think it can work, but it's got to be a short distance. It can't be like I can run, 3 laps around midship with my entire sprint. That's bad. That's not how Halo was designed. Halo, you need to be punished if you mess up. And I think the sprint and Reach allowed you to do too much. So that's my thoughts on that, which kind of takes us into our next point I want to talk about. So as far as armor abilities, we talked about sprint, that everyone will have it. And there's 3 confirmed armor abilities right now. Hologram is going to be making a return. Jetpack will be making a return. And active camo. There's no mention of armor lock. I can only pray that that's not in the game. And we've already heard that there's no bubble shield. So one thing I want to talk about real quick, how I would fix hologram. You've got to be able to do it in more than one direction. How obvious is a hologram now, like in Halo Reach? You can spot it.
It's completely obvious.
A mile away, and not only that, it shows up like gray on the radar game types.
I am guilty though. At the beginning, I shot the hologram so many times. So
and that's just the thing. Like you learn with the game, people get used to it. But I think how I would fix the hologram, if I was crouching and walking forward, my hologram would crouch and walk forward. If I'm strafing to the right, and I use hologram, it strafes to the right. It actually mimics the player's body movement, and I think doing that, you can set up, believable movement patterns. Whereas in, Reach, it was just I'm running straight forward at a, set pace the whole time. And then this is where like the sprint actually comes into play as almost an interesting mechanic, heaven forbid. If I'm sprinting forward and I use my hologram, then my hologram's sprinting forward.
I mean, that just seems like it's too much, though. That just seems way... Like, obviously you want to create a new dynamic to the game, but like, just think like for a second about... You're pretty much saying a hologram can mimic an exact... your every move. I mean, there's just got to be a line where you got to draw where it's like, all right, you can do so much, but you can't fucking you holocam can't sprint, jump around, and pretty much shoot at the other guy.
But best man, I the 343 developer, I thought of this concern, and you know what I created? It's called Forerunner Vision. You know what Forerunner Vision does? If I use a hologram, then you can't see, or the hologram doesn't even show up for you. So now you've got a counter to it, right? Oh, but then you're like, oh, well then everyone's going to use Forerunner Vision. No, wait. Here's the thing. If I have my active camo ability, I don't show up on your Forerunner Vision at all. Not only do I have active camo, but I'm totally invisible. So, like, fingers crossed, I think that could be an interesting balance where there's actually, like, a counter to certain things. And it reminds me of Gust and Smoke in Shadowrun, along with Enhanced Vision. Because for any of you that don't know, if you use Smoke in Shadowrun, you're immune to bullets and damage, but people can still see you, and you also move slower.
But
the counter to that was Gust. If you had Gust, you could cause someone damage and force them out of their smoke state. And then Enhanced Vision allowed you to see through walls and things like this Forerunner Vision is kind of doing. But if you had Smoke equipped, then you didn't show up on Enhanced Vision. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm all for that, but there's just, from my one part of my mind or my heart and soul wants to, talk about the, basic Halo, but another part wants to move on to, like, so you can have a metagame, so you can have different options, so you could pick these custom loadouts and they'll actually mean something, but, that's where I'm torn, so.
Yeah.
I just think there just needs a line to be drawn, and hopefully...
I totally get it. It's like, and I'm sure, Chris Lemon, I'm sure you'd agree that it's either like, at this point, it's, do you give up on the Halo 1, scenario that you know and love and say, okay, like, it's not happening, or do you sort of still fight for it? So, Kirst, I'm interested what you have to say about almost hopefully how armor abilities could work well as like a rock, paper, scissors counter type thing, and if it's worth giving up our classic sort of bare bones Halo 4.
Well, I mean, whatever 343 is going to do is whatever 343 is going to do. I personally like Halo the way that it's always been. I just like Halo that way. It's different from all other first-person shooters in its vanilla state, and it's something I enjoy. It's something that I feel is not lacking in anything. I feel like Halo 1 is the perfect competitive FPS. Yeah, it doesn't really have a lot of variety. There's only like 4 weapons that you use in the entire weapon hierarchy. And, aren't that many maps. There aren't any special abilities. But it works. I mean, we're talking about a competitive game. A game that showcases the skills of the people that are playing it. When you start convoluting a basic formula with all these different things, it just becomes it's cool, I guess. It's neat and flashy and bright colors and flashing lights and woohoo, but it's a gimmick is all it is. Because you're gonna talk to me about the thing that you said, with holograms and Forerunner Vision counteracting that. What is the point of that? Why do you have 2 abilities? You have to make 2 different players burn their abilities just to counter each other. And in the end, does it take a skill to use Forerunner Vision? No. You just use it. It's on or it's off. And a hologram, you turn it on, it does stuff, but ultimately you're not really doing anything to help with the illusion other than turning it on. It's not something that really fosters or helps the competitive scenario at all. It's just something to, it's like something to like have a little giggle fit at, like, oh, I can do this. And it's, cool, I guess, in a sense. But I feel like the developers are just not paying attention. Frankie is being lauded as the next Sage person who is going to take Halo back to its roots. I really don't think that's going to happen. Not because I think Frankie's a liar.
Can we clear up who Sage is real quick for the 600 people who don't know?
Sage. once was the savior of Halo. He worked on Shadowrun, right?
Yep. He was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the I believe the lead designers of Shadowrun, which is commonly touted as one of the most competitive console FPSs of all time. So people thought, Sage come in and work on Halo Reach, this game's gonna be freaking awesome. That didn't happen. It was actually turned out to be the worst Halo of all time. So, I don't trust that something is going to be good just because a name is attached to it. With, Frankie is typically stylized as the person who was the person who had like a shred of sanity on the Bungie team, and then just kind of left because he was like, I can't deal with these people anymore. I got to get the hell out of here. But I don't know. I didn't really follow Frankie all that much when he was with Bungie. I didn't really follow, what he had to say, and to some degree, the things that he's saying now are the first things that I've really paid attention to. But 343, I really do not believe that they are taking a serious look at Halo in a competitive light. I feel like, I just want to grab these people, sit them down in a room and be like, look, this is what we want. It's real simple. Now just tell us, are you going to do it or not? Because if you're not, I'd really like to know in advance so I don't pre-order the game and have a horrible case of buyer's remorse.
Well, it would just be terrible marketing.
Well, yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Both on your earlier points in regard to sort of, I didn't even actually think of it that way. As far as like, it's just something that's like I press a button and the game does something for me. Basically, is how.
Yep.
A lot of the armor abilities work. I guess you could make an argument that jetpack is you have to move around while you do it, but really it's just kind of you're like a big piñata in the air when you use it, at least in Halo Reach. So, and the thing about Shadowrun, why it's a little different, for any of you interested, why I sort of gave that game praise, with Gust, not only did you have to aim the Gust to hit your opponent like a normal bullet, it traveled very slow, so you'd have to lead your target, but it also costed mana, which eventually depleted, and there was also like negative connotations to that. So yeah, sort of have to reevaluate my views on these armor abilities, and if maybe there will be some sort of mechanic where it takes something away, but we can all probably pretty safely assume that there won't be. So the next thing that's also not the most positive thing to talk about that's changing Halo's core dynamic a little bit is respawns. And again, this is only, I believe, an FFA right now, so don't freak out, everyone. This is like in Call of Duty. When you're dead, on your death screen, you'll be able to hit X to immediately respawn. So it'll most likely be only available in free-for-all game types, and it won't be the case in objective-based modes like CTF. I, for one, I'm kind of indifferent on this because it feels like something that they've already said, this is in the game, this is how it's going to be played, so I haven't really put much thought into it. I guess it makes sense for people who play free-for-all because they're sort of just there to run around and shoot people and get killed, so I think it adds to basically the mindless nature that the default sort of free-for-all settings that they make is basically. I don't know if anyone disagrees or agrees or has anything to say or just want to go to the next topic.
I mean, is it only, like, did they say the words free-for-all or just Slayer?
I'd assume it can be applied to team as well. I don't think they officially said, but I know that I think in Game Informer and 343 Guilty Spark, aka Siren, can probably let us know since he's the keeper of all Halo knowledge.
All right, well,
I see him typing right now. So so he just heard FFA. So I think it's safe that it's just an FFA.
I mean,
it might not be in team games at all.
It still comes down to vanilla and competitive. You add this, so someone's going to pick up the game and be like, oh, X1's to spawn. Then they go and see MLG, oh, this is completely different than what I just played. So once again, you're adding something that can't cross between the casual, it's a competitive, and it's just, I mean, I don't really have, an overall consensus on it yet, but it's to that point. It's stupid. You shouldn't. Are we going to be playing X to respawn Team Slayer games to fit in with so that we get more casual people to draw to competitive, or what are we going to do? It's just another thing that adds to this line that casual players have to cross into competitive that they're going to be turned off by.
Yeah, I'm sure you're against it, Curse Lemon.
Well, there's no doubt that it's for the people who have like attention disorders, but the sad thing is, the really sad thing about it is that will probably be a really big hit with casual players of Halo. I guarantee it. Because
sad.
People have really short attention spans, and I think that that's something that would be very attractive for someone who just doesn't even care about, the learning a lesson by dying. Someone who does not care about that at all, because really, you ask a casual player if they really care about something like that, your answer is probably going to be no. So they're going to enjoy just, oh, I died, oh, big deal, X to respawn, get back right back in the action, go kill somebody, and and like was stated, it's probably going to drive a bigger wedge in between casual Halo and competitive Halo. I absolutely support the notion that that many people have spoken about, that Halo needs to be like a singular cohesive thing out of the box that transfers from casual play to competitive play. That needs to happen if MLG is going to revive its population, I feel like. Because if we start screwing with the settings as much as we've done with Reach, then there's no way we're going to have an influx of new people, because they're not going to know what the hell is going on. It's going to be completely different. They're going to be like, "What can I press X to respawn?" Because you died and you have to respawn. There's a penalty for dying, or did you know that? And they're going to be like, "Screw this is boring. I'm going to go play the other playlist." So, just whatever. I mean, it's something that's going to sell. And I am not going to sit here and cover my ears and scream la 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 and pretend that 343 isn't a company that's out to make money. They're going to do those kinds of things because they can. But, as for the actual concept, I don't care, because it's not going to show up in competitive settings. But what it's going to do to the culture of the game, I think, is very detrimental.
Yeah. I would agree. And I hope it just stays in FFA. Like, if it's in free-for-all and that's it, then I think we can be good. But, yeah, it's a tightrope walk for sure. You want to say something on it, or?
I mean, it's just, it just adds another negative, I think. I mean, a positive to the game, because obviously there's going to be, a great chunk of people out there that are going to love it. And of course, Halo 4 is going to sell. That's not that's not really a question. Halo 4 is going to sell, and as every Halo game has, regardless of how many Call of Duties are going to spawn every 6 months, it's going to sell. So I think it's just another setback from casual to competitive players.
Yeah, and it takes away a lot. I don't want to talk about this too much longer, because I think we're all pretty much in agreement here that's a bad thing. But it takes away from the dynamic of Halo, that you're dead and now I'm going to be in a better position because of it, or I'm going to be able to get this power weapon because of it. And if you're in a close, DMR or BR or whatever the weapon you're using in Halo 4 is, and someone hits X to respawn and gets a lucky respawn that's staring, right in your face, and they just take you out only to have you like mash X to get back at them. It takes a lot of sort of the elegance in dying out of the game.
1v1 instant respawns.
Oh, Octagon? That's probably...
I'd play that. I'd play that for the sheer hilarity.
It's, yeah. And yeah. Octagon is like this whole beast that I don't even know if we can get into. But yeah, it's not Halo's, that's for sure. So here's a more positive thing. We'll talk about something a little uplifting. Everything can't be down in the dumps. A ranking system. So Halo 4 will not use the Halo Reach true skill system that probably was pretty shoddy to begin with. So they say that you will get matched up with players of your skill level. They haven't said that it's going to be an official level 1 to 50, but they said that ranks will actually serve a more meaningful purpose. So it might be like a military rank emblem or something, but it will actually correlate to your skill, and that sort of thing. So, I mean, that's good, because I think that's something that's been pretty unanimous in the community. I don't think anyone can argue against ranking system.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Halo 2 was so good. How many 50s did you know? None. I mean, even in Halo 3 it was somewhat good. I mean, I didn't really think it was that good, but a lot of the general public loved Halo 3 ranking. So I'm couldn't have asked for better news in that sense. If there's a skill in order to get your rank, then I'm going to play it regardless of how shitty the game may seem, because I like playing to be better than somebody. That's the whole point. Not to get matched up with Spartan Gym, Slim Jim 9000. It's just stupid. Like there was no true skill in Halo Reach. I refuse to believe this true skill myth that's out there. Like what true skill is there? There's just no possible way. It's random, and I don't believe it. So
yeah,
good news in that sense.
And again, like I think it's good that they're not trying to perfect the arena ranking system, because while I like that in theory, I like the idea of divisions, and I have a couple of videos out where I'm sort of like, you can have your level within a division, and then if you don't play for like a certain, like 3 months, then you'll get bumped down a division automatically. But if you place well in a division, you can get moved up, sort of just to give something else people, to shoot for. I think the arena ranking system was kind of really just strange, because when you try to like put a number on how good someone plays during a specific game, it gets very difficult, and that sort of messes up the whole ranking system, basically. Oh, and then 343 Guilty Siren said it actually changed to wins and losses last year. So
that's good.
The heads up on that. Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Maybe too little too late with that.
No.
So
there's no way.
Does anyone have anything about the ranks? Or
I mean, if there's something where, obviously StarCraft is different. Well, I mean, it's not really different because there's 2v2 and 3v3 and 4v4, but the division system, the StarCraft, the divisions are perfect. So maybe something like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're going to take a quick break again. That was I feel like my spirits are kind of down after hearing about and talking about instant respawns and armor abilities, but we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with a few things that David Ellis and Frank O'Connor have said to hopefully reassure us about the game, and we'll also talk about Halo 4's new composer, which is always a big staple. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back for our third and final segment of Social Skirmish, our little Halo 4 themed news show. So the last topics we're going to touch on, uh, just recently, just a few days ago, 343 announced their new composer for the Halo 4 soundtrack. Obviously, music has always been a huge staple of Halo ever since Halo 1 and the monk chants. It's been pretty important. So
Mhm.
they announced that Neil Davidge is the new composer, and I have a brief quote from him, and he says, "With Halo 4, we want to build upon the franchise's amazing legacy and create a score that captures the awe and wonder of the Halo universe and reinforces the deeper and more emotional, impactful journey Master Chief will embark on." So, to be honest, I feel like that's something we hear with every Halo game soundtrack. And there's actually snippets that you can listen to on HaloWaypoint.com. So that's probably honestly the best way to get an idea of this guy's music. But he was also the producer for Massive Attack, which is an electronic music group. And for any of you who don't know who Massive Attack is, the show House, that opening theme song called Teardrop, that's produced by him. So if you don't know House, then I don't know how else to explain it to you. But that music is done by him.
There's a song with Massive Attack and Mos Def. You should look it up. It's really sick.
I'll have to do that because I'm a fan of Mos Def and I'm a fan of Massive Attack. So that sounds sick. And if Neil Davidge helped produce that, then I feel like this gives that guy a lot of street cred, in my opinion. So I'm excited for the music. The snippets I heard that they posted on their site sounded good. Have you guys, either of you guys, gotten a chance to listen to them at all?
I think it was just showed the one video introducing him, right? And they showed like the whole like orchestra of people. And,
Yeah.
I mean that if that was his music right there playing, that was pretty sick. But I mean, I don't really have that big of an opinion on this. So
Yeah,
it's
I feel the same way.
Halo soundtrack. I mean, Halo 1 soundtrack or Halo 2. One of those ones was amazing. So of course it had to be one of those games. So I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Lemon, do you have anything on it? Or
Well, one thing about the Halo series in general, like as far as the new composer, I haven't gotten a chance to listen to those examples that were posted or any of his other stuff. But I've heard the house theme, obviously. But yeah, change of pace is good. I mean, as long as it's good music, then that's good. But one of the things about the Halo series that I've always kind of sort of complained about was that didn't have to do with the multiplayer was that the entire presentation of Halo was kind of cartoony. Like it was really hard to take Halo very seriously. It had to do with maybe some of the visual aesthetics, and the story was kind of cheesy too. The enemies, I mean the grunts, I mean good lord, like
Yeah.
comic relief in the middle of a battle. And I think the music kind of sort of had something to do with it too. Like some of the Halo music is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I did that that cover of In Amber Clad that I showed to a bunch of people. I love that song. That song is amazing. There are songs on the Halo 1 soundtrack that are amazing. But just during the course of playing a Halo game, a lot of the music it's either like really overblown for what's going on, or it's kind of like one of the things that Marty O'Donnell said that he was trying to do when he created the Halo music was he didn't want to force things. He didn't want to have like music always playing in the background, like like people would do like weird ambient loops or something like that. And he hated that. So there's a lot of times where the music would just drop out, and when you're playing Halo. But like when the music would come in, a lot of times it would be kind of I don't know, just maybe like really over dramatic or even sometimes a little too lighthearted, depending on what was going on. It was good music and it was wonderfully orchestrated, but music during the gameplay of an FPS is kind of hard to pull off because the very nature of a first-person shooter is you're sitting here with a gun fighting for your life. It's like this horrible thing is going on that you could die at any second, and the music is just like just does not fit the mood very well. So on the general subject of Halo's music, I love the music. It would be interesting to see Halo with a change of pace in music and a change of approach to how the music is applied during the gameplay of the campaign. I can't say whether it'll be better or worse. We just have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'm looking forward to see what the new music will be like, though. So when Halo 4 comes out, we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I love the menu music in Halo 1. Like, I remember like just falling asleep at lands and like hearing the background and the talking timers going off, like just falling asleep into that sound. It's amazing. So the Halo 2 and Halo 3 menu music was good. I don't really like Halo Reach. It's kind of annoying, really annoying actually.
Yeah, it's definitely got a different feel to it.
Just depressing almost.
Yeah, and I guess that fits with the theme of the game, but the new music, I've actually, like, the snippets seem really interesting. It's sort of got that, like, very classic Halo 1 sounding sound to it, with these really sort of heavy electronic, like, created sounds. So it's an interesting mix, so maybe it'll work for Halo. But last topic before we sort of wrap up and give our shout outs and sign off and that sort of thing. I'm going to give a few quotes out from both David Ellis and Frank O'Connor that maybe will ease some of our nerves in regards to the game. So this one's by David Ellis. So he says, "We knew some of the elements of Halo's multiplayer evolution would be controversial in some circles. And as it turns out, if you've looked at any Halo forum, it's actually in all circles. So then he says that keep in mind that none of these design decisions have been made lightly, but have been carefully thought out and continue to be tweaked based on feedback from people playing the game." So, I mean, that's always nice to hear. But again, it's like the proof is in the pudding kind of thing. Like, let's see the game and see if, you can back up what you're saying. I know that they actually have said that some aspects of the game that have been talked about in the Game Informer article have actually been changed. So, I'll just go into the next quote because there's not a lot of substance there. This one from Frank O'Connor. He says the magazine scans were going to come out the day after. They can't talk about story in detail because that's their exclusive, but yada yada. The players are invested, emotional, or raising eyebrows slightly, or being very misinterpreted. And then he says, like he specifically says in quotes, random weapon spawns, for example, but we'll be able to clarify some of those things in due time. So if any of you guys follow Halo 4 News, Halo Waypoint, there will be a podcast coming out where they are going to talk about these things. The podcast, according to Siren, should be recorded next week and then released in due time. But I think that's interesting about the random weapon spawns that he specifically calls that out, because that has been one of the biggest things. I'll give my take on random weapon spawns, and you guys can sort of talk about it a little bit. I think by random weapon spawns, they probably mean fixed location random weapon spawns. So, like, in maybe a map like Lockout, for example.
So you'll know. It's not
like
just going to be...
Tower,
yep.
It could spawn on Snipe 3 in that, by where the fusion coils were. It could probably, like, spawn on the back corner of Snipe 2, or it could spawn, like, in Snipe 1. And then in addition to that, there'll also be a icon that'll pop up, sort of like the flag, with like a countdown timer, like, oh, it's spawning Snipe 1 in 30 seconds. So then everyone will sort of flock to that area, and that's, I think, how random weapon spawns are most likely going to work. And which I don't know, like, obviously from a competitive standpoint, I'm probably sure that changes a lot for you, Nick, in regards to how you time weapons and play the game. But
well, I mean, it almost seems like it can be the same, because when you play Halo, your main objective is to either get the power-ups or get the power weapons and go from there, whether it's objective or Slayer. So it's not like if it's random weapons spawn and like this drop location, like ahead of time, then I don't see that big of a deal. But if it's like the complete opposite of what I'm thinking and the worst, then it's going to be terrible. But they did just like where it's just like I'm just walking, and then here's a rocket over here that no one knew that was going to be there, but it's just there. But I think if there's like a certain, if there's preempted weapons and you know they're going to be there and the other team does too, then it's fair, because that's what Halo's always been. So that's it.
Yeah. Curse Lemon, what do you think about this type of spawn system?
Well, it's either stupid or it's pointless. I haven't decided which one. I mean, okay, think of it this way. You're playing on the pit. You have, OS and rockets, and then let's put something else in long haul. I don't know what. Just anything you want. Put evade in there. I don't freaking know. But so you have it where the pit is a map with a certain structure. It's designed around certain focal points and the weapons are put in areas of high contention that are hard to get to. Now, if you take rockets from green and you put them under the bridge, that accomplishes nothing, because all you've done is move them from one middle area of the map to another middle area of the map. If you move them from green to a sniper tower, that's even stupider, because not only if you put them in a completely asymmetrical spot on a symmetric map, you are handing them over to a certain other team, depending on how the spawn system is going to work. So it's like, either you're putting it in a stupid location, or shifting the spawn of the weapon is pointless. If you have to shift the weapon spawns to promote a competitive, enrich the competitive experience, you probably designed the map wrong, or you're doing something else wrong that should be addressed first before you try to come up with a clever system that doesn't really actually help anything. So I'm not really sure what 343 is thinking on that, because everybody thought at first, oh, random weapon spawns are going to spawn in random places. That's ridiculous. Yeah, that would be ridiculous. But what Frankie is saying is equally ridiculous, or just pointless. In a competitive setting, there's literally no point to it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's definitely a mechanic to give someone who's not used to timing weapons a chance to get a power weapon. I think that's really all it is. They want every Joe Schmo to have their fair shake at, stumbling into a rockets or a sniper or something like that. But in trying to see this in a positive light, it does make how we when I say we, I mean the MLG community, how they do weapon spawns easier, because now we can just put it in one place and say, all right, fixed location every 30 seconds. So we don't have to do that weird, like, drop it from 2 crates height Halo 3 drop system that we did. So in its default state, I do think it's not as good. But in regards to customizing settings, I think it does make things a little easier to recreate the Halo 1 weapon spawn system.
You give that example in the pit, but like, think of, with these new maps, and we don't know if they're gonna be big or not, but think of, like, you get like a timer on your screen if this pod is dropping down with a sniper or rockets, and so everyone on the screen knows where it's at. Then you base your push off that, instead of just a sniper spawning at isolation under the little nook, and instead it's just dropping at one of the base, or a back wall, or the other side of the map, not like in a base, but like at a power point, so it's just spread out all around. I mean, I obviously agree with you, but I'm just trying to see it from a positive light, because there's not too much too positive about this information, so I'm just trying to see it from a different point of view. And
yeah,
I don't know if you agree with me, Lemon, or not. So yeah,
I do, pretty much, wholly and completely.
But I mean, if they completely just, it could be a disaster. I mean, some people are gonna not give a care in the world and go about their life and play Halo for 3 months. I mean, that's it. They don't really care that there's random rockets and stuff just dropping around the map. So
yeah, I think the only way I could see it work is if they design the game right entirely around these new mechanics, where they take everything into consideration. So maybe a map like, I don't know, like derelict or something where you have the sniper spawn, if it could spawn in maybe two different places on that upper ring, and it would like rotate, either way or something like that, to where it's not a drastic change, to where it's not like the rockets are in Green Hall and now they're on Main Bridge, and it's like a totally different, like it doesn't play to the map well. But if it sort of plays into the map, I could see it working better than just, being sort of a willy-nilly type scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to come up with a rational application for something like that. Maybe they'll surprise us. It's entirely possible that they're just thinking of something that we've never thought about. And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want to be able to say that this is, this company is going to have new ideas for Halo, that they're going to be innovative. They're going to bring things to the table that nobody, thought about before. I'm just not counting on it.
Right.
Yeah. I think it can create a metagame, and that's what Halo really hasn't had in the past, and other games thrive on, like StarCraft, and even Gears of War is one of the only console games that has a metagame, I think. And I don't really know too much about it. I just take Gandhi's word and just say whatever. But it could change in a good way. But you're right. The whole game has to be based around this new random weapons of spawning, because that's what Halo has been about. Halo has been about getting control of the weapons that spawn in a certain location. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best case scenario is that like the timer gives you adequate time to like slay the other team and then set up like you normally would. I think that's the only real way that it can actually be like a testament to skill rather than just be in the right place at the right time. So like the icon comes up, like your team's sort of spread out in a general area. You have an icon pop up that says, "Oh, rockets here in 30 seconds," and you're like, "All right, let's, roll out," or whatever your cool team saying is, and you go and try to slay the other team and then take that position, while obviously the other team's trying to do the same. And it sort of mimics what we had with Halo 1 and those sort of scenarios, but it just sort of makes it easier, I guess, the fact that there's an icon there. And that's just my take on it. So someone in the chat was like, am I advocating random weapon spawns? No, I think, the Halo 1 system does it better, but I'm just trying to look on the bright side of things and say, well, maybe there's a shot that this won't be, a huge failure or a train wreck or anything like that. So, yeah, that's basically Frank O'Connor's and David Ellis's, personal posts, I think, on NeoGAF there, if you're looking for a source on that. So with that, I think that's going to just about wrap up our first show, unless we want to do some community questions from chat. Ray, is that cool? Do you want to try that? Ray's typing.
Yeah, I mean,
Ray's got some from earlier. All right, so we're going to do some community questions. Then. I'm going to stall and just continually vomit words out of my mouth.
While we wait.
Hot.
Hot. I like that. While we wait, I want to shout out to Ninja Dursty Flamesword. They retweeted the stream. It's cool to see pros promote other people's channels and YouTube videos. So shout out to the 3 out of 64 people that give a shit. And we got our first question here. You can take it.
All right, so I'll read this off and then you guys can answer. How would you like to see the armor ability functionality tweaked to benefit competitive gaming? Energy as pickup on map. So I think I know. So what he's saying here is, say you start with your armor ability, but you can't use it until you pick up X amount of, let's call them power cores on the map or something like that. Probably like Quake, how you have the health pickups sort of in a row. Would you guys be for a system like that? I'll start with Best Man and then we'll go to Cursed Lemon.
So we're talking about that first question in the chat?
Yeah, like armor ability, would you be for armor ability function where you had to pick up an energy core or something to use your armor ability?
No. Not Halo.
Yeah, I think that goes like one step too far.
That's like what's that game? That Nexus game that came out? And it's like an arena style.
Yeah, I played that.
Don't you go around and you pick up stuff and it like different. What I don't really know what they're called, but I watched it. That's exactly what I just thought of when I read that. I don't know if I'm interpreting it wrong, but
it's kind of like I've played Nexus. Nexus, you just pick something up, and then it gives you an option of 3 modifiers you can choose from. So it'll be like low gravity,
right,
faster rate
and
of fire.
that's what I think of the armor abilities. That's what.
Yeah.
That's all. No, they're already doing too much. So.
Yeah. What do you think about an energy pickup?
It's basically another distraction. I mean, it's something that is another. It's like an obstacle to using an ability that does not need to be there. We should be giving, if you want to give players armor abilities, it should be something that is first of all, just inherent in the class that they make. It should be something that should be available at all times, because it should be something that is something that reflects the player's play style. It's something that complements the way that they play the game. So it's something that they have to be able to apply at all times. That it changes the way they move around the map. It changes the way that they set up. It changes the way that they shoot people. It changes the way that they support their teammates. Something like that. It has to be a constant thing. If you have these hypothetical energy cores laying around the whole map, you have to. It's this whole jousting game just to be able to use your armor abilities. And at that point, it's like, how many things are going on in this game right now? And people are going to come back at me with that. Well, that's the metagame. That's where the skill is. It's like you're acting like there's not enough skill already in out shooting your opponent and picking up.
Well, I think at that point that's just the game trying to keep up with other games. Like, it's trying not to be too stale. And people say, why not? Why are we? Why try to fix something that ain't broken? Well, you gotta sell copies of the disc, and that's where all these armor ability and all this stuff comes into play. So
yeah,
it sucks, but it is what it is, and I can only hope that it turns out good.
Yeah, and I'll ask the next question, but to touch on that, my thing is, why would I ever go for an energy pickup when the point of the game is Team Slayer and I'm trying to kill the other guy? Like, why would I run out and try to use that when I could just shoot you and kill you instead? Like, it distracts from the actual game type being played, so I'm against a system like that. All right, so the next question, how do you think the join in progress feature will affect competitive play? Or do you think it'll be for casual game types only? Or, what are your feelings on that?
I mean, you think join in progress and then you think terrible matchmaking system. That's what I think. So, I mean, if you got an MLG game type and you have one person code out, how's that going to, you get put into a 49-30 game and you start it up and you join, is that's not going to work. There has to be some tweaks in order for that to work. And if it's anything like Call of Duty, I'm going to hate it. And that's just going to make the matchmaking system suck. You can't, how are you going to determine divisions or ranks or levels or whatever you want to call it? How are you going to determine that if people are quitting out and you could just join in and lose right away? So, I'm not sure how I feel besides the negative aspect.
Yeah. Curse Lemon, same thing.
Well, I mean, it's obvious that is not going to be part of the ranked, playlists.
But that
it can't be. That would be the stupidest thing in the world. But even in social playlists, it's kind of like it is supremely annoying to I play Modern Warfare 3 a little bit, and it's one of the most annoying things is dropping into a game that has just gone into the post game lobby. It just makes me want to just set down the controller and be like, all right, you know what, I'm done. And maybe for other people it's more of an attractive option, but it just creates too many headaches for me. And I'll get dropped into a game where we're getting destroyed 6,000 to 1,500 or something like that, and it's just like, and the team that I get dropped in has more players than the other side, so it's almost like no thought is being put into it.
Well,
and I don't want.
Well, your problem is that you're playing COD to begin with.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. I want to just state for the record that I did not buy that game. That was my roommate.
All right, good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Like in a 4v4 competitive setting, I don't think it could work because if I leave a game, there's probably a reason for it. We're probably getting beat already. So if I'm filling in that spot, why wouldn't I just quit out as well? Like if I jump if I get in a game and it's 40-12, like why would I stay too? I feel like almost cheated in a way that you would or almost upset at a game because like the game thinks this so little of me to put me, down 40 kills. So I don't like that idea for competitive play at all. Yeah. And I guess with the only way I could see it working is like big team battle to where you at least have enough players to continue a game, but you can also get thrown in like an 8v8 setting.
I'm not taking anything away from COD. I just do not enjoy playing it. I respect the players that play it, the top players, because there's obviously a skill set there. It's a popular game, so let's clear that up, chat. I love COD. I love my COD dudes.
All right. So this is sort of Ray posted a question that I didn't ask, but it's something that I bring up. So my idea for Halo 4 is to wait minimum like 2 months, maximum maybe 3 to 4 months before we even try to start making custom game types and like taking things out, because it's my thought that in Halo Reach we sort of jumped the gun too soon, especially in competitive settings, by giving everyone a DMR. I think that sandbox was balanced in a way that while it wasn't specifically Halo, like the core Halo principles we talked about, I think it was balanced in a way that made sense. I think the AR did work best for close range, and that the pistol did cover medium range, and the DMR was a long range weapon. Because it's my theory that by throwing that DMR in everyone's hands at the beginning, it's specifically a long range weapon. So in a close range scenario, the only option for us was to spam. So I wanted to get your guys' input on that. And sort of, do you think that waiting before we really try to change the game around in Halo 4 would be a good thing, so we can kind of discover what they're trying to do with the game to begin with?
I'm never using an AR in competitive play, ever. And I don't think the sandbox was balanced. So, obviously with Halo 4, you're going to have the DMR and the BR. So I think that applies to Halo 4, but there's no possible way we could have waited 3 to 4 months in the beginning of Halo Reach and not done anything. Obviously, we did the wrong thing anyways, which was keep sprint. So, yeah, that's my take. I think it'll work for Halo 4 if we wait a little bit before completely changing everything to what we're used to seeing the past 5 years of MLG settings. I completely agree on that. I think we don't need to jump. We need to not jump the gun and make it like 100% our way. So that because it's going to be night and day from casual to competitive once again. So I agree with that.
I think that though I very often disagree with public opinion on what constitutes a competitive Halo game, I feel like at this point in the Halo series, after Halo 3 has come out and after Halo Reach has come out, that the community, I believe that now that right off the bat they are ready to dive into the custom options of a Halo game and start figuring stuff out pretty quickly, what works and what doesn't. So I think that waiting, I don't know if that will accomplish anything. I mean, it's good to, have a little bit of patience, but I think that the community will be able to immediately recognize what works and what doesn't. And I think that the more time that we spend on it, more time we spend debating on it, I think will help, because we don't know how quickly MLG is going to pick it up after it comes out, and we don't know how long we're going to have to do the settings. So, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't just pretty much go right into it.
All right. Yeah, I can see that opinion. Yeah, my whole thought process is that they haven't given us the core Halo really since Halo 1. So I don't want to say given up, but I think that they're designing a game that we're not necessarily trying to play, and that it sort of causes this weird, um, well, the disconnect between communities, obviously, where the casual player doesn't understand why we've taken certain things out of the game and why we've left, like 4 weapons in. So my line of thinking is just that let's make sure what's broken is actually broken before we, make the final cut. So with that, I think that's going to wrap up our first episode of Social Skirmish. I want to thank our guests, Curse Lemon and Best Man, for being on the show. I think everyone watching this stream got some great differences of opinion towards the more sort of casual side of Halo that we've heard, but also some touches of competitive thinking. I think we hit that nail on the head. So I want to thank you guys for doing that. I want to thank halocouncil.com for letting us use their Twitch stream. And if you guys haven't signed up for those forums yet, be sure to do that. We have tons and tons of amazing content coming our way thanks to Siren. He's constantly updating that front page. It's honestly one of the best places for, up to the minute Halo news. I don't think there's a single topic or new release of information that Siren has missed. Again, I want to thank halo.bungie.org. If you haven't checked that site out, definitely do that. That's a Halo site that has been around forever. They mentioned our show on their news stream, so I want to say thank you to those guys. For those of you who love the jams, all those tunes that were being pumped, courtesy of DJ Bestman, that's from Sphero and Girlfriend Records. It's the shirt I'm wearing right now, actually. Check them out. They're on YouTube, Facebook. If any of you guys want to know more about that, that's tweet at actually, oh snap, let me find the tweet. All right, Girlfriend Records, Google that and you'll find the Twitter. On my Twitter, I can't find their Twitter name right now. I know it's spelled a little different, so I'm going to tweet that. I'm sorry about that. Then for the graphics, I'd like to thank Chris Avila, aka Zero. He did that amazing Please Wait screen from Halo 2. And then I'd also like to thank Sam Rambles, who worked on this overlay. Now we'll go to your guys' shout outs. Chris Lemon, any shout outs you want to give?
Oh God, all the people who've argued with me over the years, all the people got really angry along with me. I feel like the Halo community, for all the crap that I've stirred, it's resulted in good discussions. So, and I want to thank all the Michigan Halo players for being my friends and making Michigan
Go Wings
scene really good. Yes, go Wings. Yeah, I want to thank the Red Wings. I want to thank everybody. It's just everybody that I know through MLG. I've made a lot of good friends, and just being a part of the scene has been really great. So,
Best man,
you were perm banned, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So was I.
Yep.
I was.
I'd like to thank Demos for letting me back in.
Yeah. I don't know who I was banned by, but I'm gonna say it was Bob. I got too many warning points or whatever, and then I got second place in national championships, and then I got unbanned. So it's funny how politics works. But yeah, shout out to Nexi, who the original template of this is by him. So halocouncil.com is, of course, every Wednesday night, me, Gandhi, DMAC, and of course Nexi. And shout out to myself because I finally learned how to run a show. And and I knocked out Curse Lemon first round, split screen with him. I think he got like 20 kills. So it was.
I was in seventh. So you know what? I'd only played Reach about 3 times, so I was pretty proud of myself.
And that's about it. Oh yeah, check out my YouTube video. Please thumbs that up and favorite and share. Google Plus, retweet, tweet, do all that stuff. And that's it for me.
Yep. All right. And then my YouTube, I'm linking in the chat right now. So you guys
cool. You're going that far?
Yeah, link it, man. Let's do it.
No, I'm too nervous. I don't want to screw anything up.
All right. Yeah. Let me check the spelling. All right. We're good. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning into the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any feedback that you might have on the Halo Council. We'll check those forums all the time. You can tweet at me. Our Twitters are those texts somewhere located around there. So just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week. Peace.